Hey everyone, I'm sure there's been a time that every one of us has gotten into our vehicle and turned the key like this, and as you can hear, there is no dinging, which means that there's no power. It's the dreaded, what we call in the automotive industry, no crank, no start. Got the clutch pushed in, still turning the key, nothing. So it may not have happened to you yet, but maybe one day it will, and I want to kind of explain to you some of the things that you can do to figure out why it's not starting, and also to help you that way you can get it running. So this is just going to be a quick video over a basic diagnostic of a handful of things that you can troubleshoot. So let's dig in. Alright, so just for reference, this is a 2002 Mustang GT. This is a vehicle produced by Ford. It's a V8 4.6 liter 2 valve. Just kind of going to walk you through the steps on here. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is pop the hood, and on my particular model car, it's right here, right underneath the door. All these newer vehicles, most of it's going to be right around here. Alright, so now that I've got the hood popped, let's go ahead and talk about a few things first. So this car actually will not start because it's a project car that I'm currently working on. I know that it just needs to be jumped off because it currently has an open circuit that I'm having a hell of a time tracking down right now. But I can still walk you through the process of what you need to do a quick diagnostic of maybe getting your car to run. So first and foremost, I kind of want to talk to you a few things about the car specifically. Like I said, this is a 2002 Mustang GT, so let's go ahead and do a little engine bay familiarization. So here's going to be your battery. These are called your battery terminals. This is going to be your intake. This is going to be your intake plenum or throttle body. It's going to be your actual throttle body itself right here. This is going to be your air intake side, or what they call the plumbing. A lot of times this will be either plastic or metal depending on the upgrade, if you've done any modifications yourself or the previous car owner, but 98% of the time it's going to be plastic. I'm trying to figure out a no crank no start is after you get the hood popped, you want to come in and you want to check your battery terminals. You want to make sure that they are not loose, everything's connected, and that there is no corrosion on there. Corrosion is kind of like a white powdery substance. It almost kind of looks like, I guess you could say wet sugar is kind of what it looks like. If corrosion is on the terminal post, it's going to prevent getting a good connection, a good circuit. Therefore, it will not allow the vehicle to start. In order for a vehicle to start and run, it needs three things. It needs air, fire, and fuel. So air is kind of self-explanatory. It needs to be able to breathe, so anything having to deal with the air intake or the throttle body or the throttle body plenum. Fire, electric spark plugs, coil packs, anything like that. And as far as fuel goes, well, that's pretty self-explanatory too. That's going to be like fuel pump, injectors, so forth and so on. I'm not going to go into depth as far as all of that goes, but I will be going into depth as far as some of it goes, so you can get a basic understanding of how to do a proper diagnostic. Alright people, so now that we've established the key elements for a car to run and to start and run, let's dive in. So here, now like I said, I already know that this is not going to start because this is a project car. It just needs to be jumped off. But so here, if you're not sure what's going on, you get in your car, you put the key in the ignition. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to put it to the on position, which is one turn of the key. At this point, you should hear a ding, 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 usually an indication that either the door's open or that the car is reading the signal for pre-ignition. If you go ahead and turn all the way, and you get a loud intermittent clicking or clacking, and your dash lights are not on or they're flickering rapidly, that is basically a key element of that the car has no power whatsoever, and you're probably just going to need a jump. Now, having said that, there are some times that there can be other factors too. So if you turn the car on, you do have lights on, and you go to give it a crank and there's nothing, you don't even hear a crank or a click, basically what that could mean is that the starter is seized or burnt out. So in relation, the starter turns the flywheel, which causes the motor to crank over, or the fuel pump has gone out, or has blown a fuse or a relay, or you could have a possible problem with the air filter being clogged, or even the throttle body itself, which attaches to the top of the intake and the plenum, being clogged with debris or not opening to allow the air into the motor to start. So right now I'm going to show you kind of how to diagnose whether it could be a fuel pump. So when you put your key in the ignition, now mind you want to do this with the windows up and the door shut, because this is the only way you're going to be able to hear this, because it's a very distinct sound. So put your key in, and then you're going to turn it one notch. You're going to turn it to the on position. Do not try to crank it, just leave it to the on position. And when you turn the key on, you should hear a distinct, shrill, high-pitched whining noise almost. It's only going to last for about 3 to 5 seconds. But if you hear that real high-pitched, shrill whining noise, that means your fuel pump is engaging. And if it does that, go ahead and turn your car back off. Alright, so once you turn the car back off, you're going to want to come out after having engaged your fuel pump. And there is, on usually 2000 model cars and up, there's this thing on top of the intake. It's the fuel rail. That's what this metal piece is right here. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but right at the forefront, this is what we call fuel rail pressure valve. If you take it to a shop, usually what they can do is they can put a diagnostic machine on here, or even a pressure gauge to tell you what your fuel rail pressure is and make sure that the fuel pump is working. But you don't have to take it to a shop to do that. If you look inside, you see this, let's see if I can get a good view here. There's almost like a little stem right inside of the valve, right inside of the fuel rail pressure. That's called the valve. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a key, a pin, pocket knife, whatever, and you're going to push down on that spring valve. And if the fuel pump is working and it was responsive to the ignition, you're going to get a stream of fuel that's going to shoot up. It's going to shoot up just like a waterfall. Alright, so I got back in the car, and I'm going to treat this as though I didn't get any responsive pressure on the fuel rail. So what that tells me now is I need to consult my user's manual, or you can get on Google or YouTube and figure out, usually your user manual is in your glove box of your vehicle, but you can get on there and you need to look up the location for either the fuel pump fuse or the fuel pump relay. Now, let's see if I can find one. I might have one, I might not. I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, I found it. So this is what they call a mini fuse. These are usually anywhere between 10 to 30 amp. Your bigger ones, the wider ones, are usually going to be your 40 on up. So this is a 20. I believe your fuel pump fuse is usually anywhere between a 35 and a 40, but it's not going to be much bigger than this. It's just going to be a little bit. But when you find the fuse and you pull it, you're going to notice, I'm going to get this close to the camera so you can see. Let me see if I can get a good view. Maybe put it to the light. Okay, so you see that little horseshoe shape in there? That's basically called a jumper in a fuse. If that's blown or it's bad, you're going to see a break in that little horseshoe. It's not going to be existent. It's just going to be usually black or just gone. It's not going to be completely connected. So then if you find a blown fuse, replace the fuse. And then you should have no problems. So you don't find a blown fuse, no worries, it's probably your fuel pump relay. So what you're going to do, and I'm going to show you this just so you have an idea. So this right here is my particular fuse box. These big, so these are the little mini fuses. These are the bigger fuses. These black squares right here, these are your relays. So if you find your fuel pump relay, don't sweat about being able to test it, because all you're going to have to do is pull a working relay from another function and then swap it with your fuel pump relay. Once you swap it, you should be able to test start the car and see if that is the issue. So once you do that, come back in, repeat the process once more, turn the key on, listen for the whine. You should have the whine then. If not, then definitely know that the fuel pump, something is wrong with the fuel pump. Alright, so now we're going to say that everything else is working. We come back to the one last problem, the air problem. So we're going to come back to the engine bay, and we're going to check the filter, make sure nothing is clogging the filter, make sure there's no breaks in the filter, no contaminants that are clogging up the plumbing. And if the filter is good, and we know the filter is good, then you're going to want to pull the plumbing. So in order to pull the plumbing, usually you're going to have a 10 millimeter screw or an 8 millimeter screw that hold this onto the throttle body. Doesn't matter whether it's plastic housing or metal. So you're going to go ahead and pull this off. Now I'm not going to do this because this is a nightmare to do, at least for my car, my setup. But what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and pull the plumbing, and you're going to look right into here, into where this hole is. That's the face of the throttle body. And you're going to look in there, and you're going to make sure that the gate moves freely. If the gate is moving freely, then you know that when you turn the key on, it's going to put it at what they call the ready phase. So it kind of opens it at about a 10-degree tilt to let the air in, so you can get air-fuel ratio mixture to start the vehicle. Now I will say this, if none of these diagnostics helped you figure out what's going on, then and only then I would recommend calling a local shop or taking it to your local mechanic, because usually with those three things, being able to figure out what's going on, usually a car will start. Now on the off chance that everything working, it tries to crank, the throttle body's not seized, all the lights come on, just remember, it has to be the starter that could be the issue. If a starter is burnt out, it will not allow the car to start. So I hope this tutorial has been very, very helpful, and I hope that it can help you if you're having a bad day, figure out what's going on, and possibly save you some money by doing it yourself. Have a good one.